New this morning, Mississippi ranked last in the nation in a list of top states for business in a report released this week by CNBC.
Dead last. The financial news company looked at numerous other factors to help in developing this ranking.
This morning, we have a live interview with Mississippi Economic Council President and CEO Scott Waller to hear his thoughts on this report.
Well, good morning, Mr. Waller. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this morning. So just want to start off, what is your response to this brand new CNBC report that has Mississippi last in the country for business?
Well, I think there are a couple of things to think about. And you know, you see these reports all the time. And unfortunately, for some reason, they do them in a way that typically shines a bad light on us when in many cases they ignore what's really happening. And I think that's kind of how I see this. There's certain parts of this that are quantitative data that we know where we are. When it comes to workforce, we are working really hard to fix some of the issues. But let me tell you, workforce is not just an issue in the state of Mississippi. If you read that story, you would think we had the worst workforce issue anywhere. But my counterparts around the country will tell you they're dealing with it day in and day out, just like we are. But what really, the reason that I was most concerned about this report was the amount of subjective data or subjective reports that they use to make this determination instead of looking at really a more quantified data. But you know, there was times when you were reading through the story that you were reading it and you were thinking, well, there's a lot of really good things happening in Mississippi. I mean, it points out that Governor Tate Reeves is really committed to improving our workforce. And what we've seen in the last year, particularly from a legislative perspective, is Lieutenant Governor Hosemann and Speaker Gunn, both this past session, put a lot of effort into those kinds of, legislative issues in terms of improving career technical education, improving our state's incentives, and doing all of those things that we believe is really going to put us in a place. But one of the things that it did point out in the story is that this is working, and that's what really matters. Accelerate Mississippi is still in its infancy, yet they point out the program is showing that Mississippi has one of the nation's best records for getting workers from its training into jobs. Mm-hmm. I mean, how important is that? So what that would tell to me, that would tell a company, if I decide to come to Mississippi and I work with their state workforce office, which is Accelerate, figure out our training plan, find the employees, get them trained, they're going to be successful. And to me, that is as important as anything when thinking about trying to attract a company. So again, the leadership that we've had from Governor Reeves, Lieutenant Governor Hosemann, Speaker Gunn, has made a big difference in helping us get kind of beyond some of this broad-based approach to looking at what's really happening in workforce. And really, that's what matters. When a company's going to look at where it's going to locate, it's going to want quantifiable data. It's going to want to get down into really a more granular approach of what this is going to mean for my company when it comes to Mississippi. And I think we've seen some successes really very recently that say people are really interested in coming here and think they can be very successful in the state of Mississippi.
And it does seem like we have several businesses popping up. At least I feel like we report every week that some industry is coming to Northeast Mississippi. And Bronson, you have a segment called Skilled to Work. And Mr. Waller, what that is just highlighting some of the businesses here that folks can apply for, and they don't necessarily need a 4-year degree. Now, with this kind of report, is there an impact that it may have on Mississippi's efforts to attract more business?
Go back and look probably for the last 10 years, and we go back to look at all different reports, we probably don't rank well. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't stop us from being successful. I mean, you pointed out that there's announcements all the time. I want to say over 1.5 billion have already been announced from MDA this year in terms of growth into the state. You look at, last year, a major announcement with Ocean Aero, which moved its headquarters from California to Mississippi. I think just the last couple of weeks, there was an announcement for a company called Columbia, that a manufacturing firm that's moving from Oregon to Starkville with its headquarters. So, I mean, and in your coverage area in particular, the amount of growth that we've seen in the Northeast Mississippi area, the Golden Triangle area, is absolutely tremendous. And it's being able to have all of the things necessary to be successful. And honestly, one of those comes back down to our workforce training. I mean, just the work that's done at Awamba Community College, Northeast Community College, East Mississippi Community College, and really all 15 of our community colleges across the state is tremendous because they're building that partnership with these companies that are coming in to create that workforce. And honestly, when a business is looking, that's what they're most concerned about.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff that's in this CNBC report and some of the methodology they use, that's not going to really matter to them. What's going to matter to them, can they come here? Is the cost of doing business reasonable? And that was one of the things we ranked very, very high in. Is the cost of living reasonable? We're number one. So we have all those things going for us.
Well, thank you for your time, sir. I believe that's all the time we have this morning. Before we say goodbye, anything else you'd like to add?
MEC did a major report that we released first of the year called Securing Mississippi's Future, a Vision for Economic Growth. It outlines where we want to go, and we're working very, very hard to continue to get there.
Mr. Waller, thank you again for joining us. I know you're in Washington, D.C. right now, so we really do appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule to join us this morning.
Happy to do so. Thank you for having me.